Unmute. No, I don't know. My volume's on 100. Well, they haven't started talking, I guess, or something. Somebody must have brought. How do I get it off?
Stand for the pledge and then open prayer by Pastor Brown.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we do thank you so much for the privilege and the opportunity to live in Blissfield. Lord, we thank you for these who serve our community. Lord, we pray throughout this meeting tonight that you would just grant us wisdom and understanding the decisions that need to be made. And Lord, we pray this for Jesus Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Call the roll.
Valdez,
Here.
Medusa, here, James Langston,
Present.
Mike Gunner,
Present.
Jerry Hayes,
Here.
Barbara Henry, here, Timothy Waters,
Present. On the minutes of regular meeting, September 26, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 26, 2022 as presented.
Support that. Move to approve the minutes of September 26, 2022 as presented. You can call the roll.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, minutes are approved. The presentation of communications. Anyway, now update. Tim Robinson and Randy, I don't want to pronounce your last name.
Yeah,
Yellow. Okay.
she's gonna pull up a PowerPoint. Sorry. Danielle said we had a brief time, so about an hour. You good? Okay. There we go. I see new faces, so I thought we'd go through just a brief history of Lenawee now. Started off in 1916 as the Lenawee, or the Greater Adrian Area Chamber, and it's morphed over the years, pretty much always been chamber / economic development. Basically, our whole role in life boils down to two things: jobs and tax base. More of both by any means than every means necessary. You saw the bullet points there. Attracting jobs, helping companies that are here expand and grow jobs, working with entrepreneurs, and encouraging community involvement in Lenawee County. Next one, ma'am. That top orange box, Ray and I have been doing this for a little while. And when we started, that orange box was basically what economic development was: business retention, business attraction, business expansion. You guys are here and then try to attract. You remember seeing the big headlines of the companies coming in, et cetera. The blue box at the bottom is what we're doing today. We throw in, we've built a whole entrepreneurial system, ecosystem, and we talked about that with this body before. We have, and I got a slide in here later, we have a business assistance team. We have up to 4 college interns every semester and in the summer, working with our director of entrepreneurial services, helping folks with an idea, take that idea to the next step. Some, most of them don't know what to do next. I think I want to do this thing, but what's the next step? Do I need a business plan? Do I need to do some customer discovery before I sink my 401k into this puppy? Talent, that's what Randy's here for. He'll get into his whole thing. Obviously, everything you've heard out there is we can't find people, we can't find the right skills. People. Our whole job has now basically changed to people. I got the entrepreneurial part in there. Lenawee Investment Opportunity Network. We've created 2 venture funds, 2 venture capital funds at Lenawee now. One is $500,000 that we have all the way out, and there's a $2 million that we have about $50,000 of it out. Again, to help, we want to create those entrepreneurs, help those guys, those folks get started, and then help them get funded, because as you know, the banks don't really like startups, and that's not a knock on the banks, it's not their job. We need other funding for that. And what Randy also does besides the talent is he's our development director, our grant writer. And you see in there on that right hand side, the USDA intermediary relending program. We've got some money from the USDA to loan out to companies, the Marshall Plan, COVID, and Randy can get into that when we get in there. But you can see we've added entrepreneurial, we've got talent, venture capital. We're starting to look at housing. I don't know, never in my 100 years would I thought we'd been doing talent, let alone looking at how to help housing, because we also know that we don't have enough housing in Lenawee County, enough, period. And if you can't attract people, you can't keep people, the dominoes just. Next one. Again, that slide there, I put the last year's annual report in front of you. We don't have to go super detailed. Next slide. Oops, sorry. That's what's in that annual report I put up there. That was last year's numbers. $4.5 million invested in Lenawee. The manufacturing facility was Flourish in Adrian, the cannabis operation. The education was Adrian College, did a couple of expansions. Service, we helped that's one daycare get started. We helped them raise the money. This nice daycare in Clinton. Obviously, the retail and then the pandemic grants. You remember in 20 and 21, the state came out with the Restart grant, the Relief grant, the Restart 2 grant to help, especially the retail and the downtown businesses trying to make it through nobody walking downtown. And so we were responsible for allocating that money. And you saw the right number of jobs retained and new jobs. Retained is mostly those relief grants to help folks keep operating. Next one. I spoke about the business acceleration team. Again, I have my director of entrepreneurial services, and usually about 4 Adrian College and Siena Heights students every semester. And then the last 3 summers, we've had a high school student on that team. And again, they sit down with the entrepreneurs. What do you want to do? We work with them on doing some customer discovery. It's a great idea, but does anyone want to buy the darn thing? And if they do, how much do they want to pay for it? Do some best practices matrix. Is someone else out there doing this, and how well are they doing it? Are there ideas that we can take from them, or you know, how do we grow this thing? Again, our kids, you gotta be careful. They helped raise $550,000 for those startups last year. Now, I went to business school, and my capstone class at business school was we had to study Delta Airlines. So this was pre-Google. So, but we never got. I never walked out of college, my business program, with a portfolio that we'd raised capital for a company. They get to do that now. And part of this business acceleration team too is we're helping. Part of our entrepreneurial system is the launch Lenaway system, and your own Ryan Wagner was part of what our launch Lenaway, a little program that Adrian Armory put together to help startups. They start with about 12 of them. I think we end up with about 12-week class, if you will, just go through the system and solve some bliss. And we next Tuesday, if you can make it to the Armory at 5:30, we're having our Square One competition, which is a business, not a business plan, but a business idea competition. Ryan's one of the contestants. Basically, you've got 5 minutes to pitch your idea, not a whole business plan. You're not doing a business plan in 5 minutes, just your idea. Then the judges, we have 3 judges, they get to ask you questions for 5 minutes. Then the next one comes up. We have 6 contestants. Once that's done, judges will go away for a few minutes, figure out who they think wins. We have 2 different awards. One is the Idea Genius Award that the judges will award, and the winner gets $4,000. And then we have one called the audience choice award, where we'll actually do the little applause meter thing, and the audience will pick who gets that one, and that one's a $1,000 award. And we're doing it at the Armory. Our lawyer says we have to say complimentary beverages and food. I can't say free, but so Cotton Brewing will be providing the beer. We got some wine and obviously soda pop, water, drinks, and then Mike Wells, one of the Launch Runaway's entrepreneurs, a caterer, will be doing the catering for that event. Next, just an award we got last year for our marketing. Can you feel on the career code?
Sure. So we are in year 3 of having career conferences for the students in Leavenworth County. The first one was canceled. It was going to be the week after the governor shut the state down. So we went online, and it was really great. We did the second one online because of the pandemic, and then last year we had one at Adrian College and had 25 employers, a reverse job fair, and a couple hundred students from throughout the county. We're going to have the 4th one in 2023. So we're really trying to attend to a special section for each of the districts, and those are the students that come out of 12th grade without a clear career pathway. So
Okay, that's the projects in the pipeline right now. The big one, the utilities, as you're aware, there's a couple solar farms looking around the area, and also the Consumers Energy gas fired plant. Manufacturing, $878 million is a lot of money. Electric vehicle plants, mostly the battery plants. I'm not so sure how we're going to fare on that one, or how we want to fare. I mean, it'd be up to elected folks like you. Those projects tend to start at wanting at least 500 acres, 500 to 1,000 acres, and between 2 million and 4 million gallons of water a day. I don't know that we can provide that. I mean, forget the 1,000 jobs. I'd love it, but I don't know we got 1,000 people. But corralling that much land and that much water, I don't know that we can do it, or do we have the appetite for it. But again, if some of them start, if they want to look more seriously at us, we'll have to start putting that together. Real estate was 17 million, blanking on which one that one is right now. Real estate deal. Accommodation, a lot of hotels still looking at us and restaurants, a lot of that's going on. And then all the agriculture plodding along at is probably another cannabis operation. But again, $1.8 billion of potential investment. And you guys can do the math on taxing the property tax. And like I said, our mission is jobs and tax base. So there's a nice steady pipeline. And then the jobs, you saw the jobs, especially the new and retained, those battery plants are outrageous. I mean, in a good way. It's a lot of jobs. Well, we've had success with this so far this year is the suppliers to the battery plants. We just landed Daejin. It's a South Korean company. They make these little trays that you put the lithium battery cells in. The folks that make the lithium battery cells put them in during the manufacturing process. They make basically a little tray that goes to the manufacturers. Their goal is 100 employees by the end of, I think, next year. They're already at 50 to 75. And I think that they're going to do multiples of 100 employees. So I want to start working on, well, we are attracting those little suppliers, those 100-person shops, rather than someone that needs 1,000 people and 2 million gallons of water a day. It just seems a lot. This is you, sir.
Tim mentioned to you that we've really been pretty unique in rural economic development. We've really focused heavily on the talent issue. The talent issue has become the #1 economic challenge for almost every community in the country. So in 2015, we began the Aligned Talent System. We do work with every K-12 in the county that invites us in. We've worked with on different levels with our K-12. Adrian Schools this year has invited us in as a pilot to work in elementary, middle school, and senior high school, and with the parents. Primarily, as I mentioned before, every district has about 20 to 40 students that come out of 12th grade without any direction. And we have so many jobs that are unfilled that we felt it's pretty imperative to start matching as many students in their affinity for certain work to the jobs that are open in the county. We have jobs that start at $37 an hour that are going unfilled because students and parents do not understand apprenticeships. There isn't really an apprenticeship pathway in the county. We're working on that. We do not have a community college here in Lenape County that does technical education. Jackson College stopped doing that about 18 years ago. So in that vein, we are working very hard with different partners to create these pathways for the students. We do get calls in May from different districts for you to talk to these 20 or 30 kids about the jobs that are out there, and it's really kind of late at that point. So we're going to go down in the 3rd grade, middle school, high school, test for affinities, see where the students would like to work. ProMedica Hospital, for instance, has about 20% of the job openings in the county, always 7 RN positions every week. They're working with us on a pilot to just start putting people into their entry-level jobs. And they're going to show folks what career paths are in healthcare once they're in the hospital. And these are jobs in environmental services, receptionist, phlebotomy, certified nursing assistants. So we're working on both ends of this. We're working very heavily with the colleges right now. We invested about $780,000 in the last year in certificates. So most employers now accept certificates and skills. Many of our employers now do not need you to have a college degree. GM came out last year and said you don't need college degrees anymore for a lot of their work. You've seen other companies do that now. So we are creating certificates that are recognized by third parties that actually meet the teacher's requirements in the classroom. Each teacher has about 184 things that they're mandated to teach every year. If you create certificates that are not matchable to those outcomes, they don't look at using them. So we've got 9 certificates, in everything from project management to future teachers. Blissfield took part in the future teachers. Adrian College is giving about 16 credit hours now for some of these certificates. That's a first. Santa Heights is giving college credit now for some of these certificates. So we're working really hard with local students and local school districts to get local folks in local jobs. I'd invite you to work as well as you can with your district and with us. We'd like to be invited down to work. We have an education navigator who can work directly with the students who don't seem to have a pathway. If you don't have a military path or a college path, or a career in your mind, those are the folks we want to work with. So, can I have the next slide, please? Well, that is it.
No, that's you.
These, I'll just let you peruse them, but we've raised about $2 million in competitive grants. So we go out to the USDA, the EDA, Economic Development Administration, and the state of Michigan. We created, for instance, a cluster approach for our chemical companies. The chemical companies in Lenawee County are really a core group in terms of being a really important industry to us. They're going to stay an important group. There's 3 of them that work on products that go into the Tesla car, for instance. We make a lot of products in this county that people don't realize end up in day-to-day products. The Vacher makes a tremendous amount of products that you could put along that whole countertop that they make a chemical of for just about everything you use. So we're trying to promote that industry. We had $169,000 top grant of the year for the state in that category to work with the chemical companies on talent. One of the things we did was a video about the industry, and then we did a video on women careers in that industry, because there's not a lot of women in the top echelon of those companies. So, so we want you to know we're working really hard on that. We're looking at developing a workforce development center. We've been working on that for about a year, and there'll be more news on that. But if you ever have any concerns about talent, if you're having trouble finding talent, we work with Michigan Works. There's a lot of funding through Michigan Works for new employees, incumbent employees. We're trying to work with the apprenticeship pieces I mentioned. So we're really attacking that challenge, I think, more aggressively than just about any rural community in the state. So.
Oh, that was one of your grants. One of the grants Randy got was, I think that was the USDA one to help small companies. We brought consultants in, helped that young lady get her store up and running. Basically, she just needed some consulting on, where'd you go? Sheila worked on that one.
Right. It was a marketing.
Okay.
We do have a grant yet that for this year and next for companies that are trying to recover from COVID. And it is for consulting for that company. So if you are one of those folks, or you know of those folks, it's not to train people, it's to help consult on marketing, customer reacquisition, supply chain management, just about anything that challenges that company to get back on their feet, recover, or look ahead and change their strategies. We can pay consultants to help their company. That was a $680,000 award that took a year and a half for us to work on. So
that's multi-county too, right?
that's us in Hillsdale. So people don't see a lot of me. I'm usually in the corner.
Writing grants.
So, but thank you for your time. Oh,
And if you can riff real quick on Marshall Plan, I mean, that was the certifications you're talking about.
right. So I think we've mentioned it. we're really interested in trying to get to students as early as we can to see where their interests are. My belief after 5 years of doing this is parents are having a real struggle understanding the current job market. Students are in the county of Lenawee, there's 535 students for each counselor. We're better than the state average, which is 721 students per each counselor. So they have a lot of time to counsel. The teachers are pretty much matched up to what the state's telling them to teach. The parents do or do not have a grasp on the job market. We're still getting a lot of kids that are asked to go to college by mom and dad. 3.9 out of 10 graduate from college, the other 6.1. Not sure what a 0.1 person looks like, but they come back with that. So before they leave, we're trying to get them to take a look. Tell them about that $37 an hour job at Adrian Mechanical and how they get into that apprenticeship piece. And just let them discover that these are great jobs and they may want to do something more in that light. Doesn't mean they can't go to college later. We're not telling people not to go to college, but we're trying to show the expansion of what kids can do, so.
Another one, the CTE work, like Randy said, we have a navigator, we brought someone on staff to sort of be the liaison between businesses and schools. It's like you said, the teachers, they're booked up, the counselors are way overbooked up. So how do we get some of that business into school and get the children, the students exposed to that without being a burden to the counselors or the teachers? And so Kelly's doing that right now through some CTE funds that we helped raise. Next, that's what Randy talked about, the career connection. When we got the award for, again, it was 20 kids per district. We got 10, 11 districts. That's 200 kids a year coming out of their senior year. They call us in May. We got 200 kids that aren't really sure what they want to do. We got to do something. So we did this year. Now, like Randy said, the job for us is, can we identify those children a little bit before May of their senior year? We probably know a bunch of them. I know that me, that was, you could tell that for me when I was in 9th grade. Next thing. The reason I want to put this one up here is marketing. In Lenawee County, our marketing budget is not that fabulous. There's not enough money for us to go to Auto Mechanica in Frankfurt to attract the next EV company. I'm sure I want to do that, to be honest, but there's not enough money for us to do that. And even if there was, we show up high where Lenawee County, where Adrian, with Blissfield. Detroit Regional Partnership is an 11 county partnership around, based obviously Detroit. When they show up in Frankfurt, people take notice. And so for a very slight fee, Maureen, the president of that, lets us join. And when they go overseas, they take our materials with us and peddle Lenawee County as part of their region. Because not everything can go in Detroit. We have nice industrial parks that aren't either all full up or $4,000, $100,000 an acre. So that's why I want to put DLP in there. And then that next slide, the last slide, basically working with Pat to get Blissfield manufacturing in here. They put together this VIP program for sites. We have a Zoom prospector on our website where I just basically type in the data. 626 Depot Street. It's 228,000 square feet and 6-inch floors, basic stuff. This one, they go into real depth, the kind of depth that site selectors and attraction companies want. What's the, not just the zoning, but what's the utilities? Has there been a phase 1, a phase 2? What are the environmentals? What's all the good, the bad, the ugly details? And so we're working to get Pat's facility in there, and we'll work with the village. If there's any other properties that you have that might be good in that one, I can think of a couple, but we should sit down and chat.
Yeah, it can be a good one for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
And that's it for us. So if there's any questions, be happy to answer them. Sorry, that was a lot. I know that was like drinking from a fire hose. I apologize. But we haven't been out in a while.
I guess, you guys have been here a long time, and we've supported you a long time, Tim. And I think we understand the value that we get, You know, it may not be direct, it may be an offshoot from, you know, a lot of it's, you know, number one, jobs. Number two, you know, people just traveling through the area, food, gas, whatever. That said, I think I would like maybe a little bit more communication and we focus on some areas that we really want to discuss over the next year, much like you did talk about BMC, you know, that being open. I had that written down, the International Industries Building. You know, I guess, you know, what do we expect to, or from Lenawee now over the next fiscal year?
Okay,
And I guess my top four things would be, like you had said, BMC, add International Brass in there. How to work with the Egg Museum to develop that program and how to secure better funding to make that happen, because that's what's gonna build the options in the secondary economic development in our area. Continuing working with the Downtown Development Authority. I know that you do a lot with that, work with Heather, work with Laura, so we appreciate that, continue that. And then that being said, the 300 block West Adrian, whatever we want to call it, Frosted Boy property or whatever, how do we redevelop that? That's so, again, I think, again, just us working together, continued dialogue, you know, sitting down with, you know, with our administrator and our staff to say, you know, what are we getting for our investment?
yeah, absolutely.
And I think I appreciate you, and I'm sure our whole board does. I know it's a yearly adventure that you come on out this way, but we do appreciate the updates. We truly do. And honestly, is kind of piggybacking on what Mike stated. Laura Nichols, our new DDA Main Street Director there, she does keep us apprised of the work that you guys are doing in collaboration, and Danielle has as well. So we do value your time. We do appreciate you putting forth, you know, all that effort for us, in particular for Blissfield. Lenawee County is great, but of course, we want to make sure Blissfield's got our share in there as well. So thank you for advocating for us. We truly do appreciate it.
Good. Is it? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Move on to the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I have a correction. On the payroll, that should say payroll register for September 2022, not October.
You talked about the new business there, Lisa, with the payroll
Yes.
portion. Yes.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as correct.
I'll support that.
Motion to approve the agenda as corrected. Any other changes? If not, you can call the roll.
Barb,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes. It is approved. Public comment items on the agenda. Move on to unfinished business.
And a couple if no one else has anything pretty good. Danielle, just a couple things there regarding the meeting when Jim Gates came and talked with us 2 weeks ago. Can you share with us the status? Has he been in to talk with you? Have you had any communications with Mr. Gates, please?
I have not had any communications with him. I did email him on September 29th to make sure that he had all of my contact information and to just kind of re-summarize what council was looking for and see if there was anything I could do to help. I didn't hear from him, so then I emailed him again on October 6th, and I've yet to hear from either of those. And my plan is to continue following up, but I was gonna try to give him a call and send an email again this Thursday. I set a weekly reminder. I don't want to blow his email and phone up, but hoping that I would talk to him in that time.
On that note, did you receive the letter I had written regarding, a thought about that?
I did not.
You did not?
I
Oh,
was watching for it too.
I attached it, well, I went ahead, you guys, I can email it to all of us if that's appropriate, at this time for just a few moments. I'll come back to it if that's all right. But I went ahead and I actually had the opportunity to, I was at Bob Evans today, and I walk in and who do I see? Mr. Gates. Anyhow, long story short, I asked for a few moments of his time and explained, I was glad that we had seen him when he came to our meeting. And that I didn't realize that Danielle had tried to make connections with him. And so anyhow, I said, is there something that you would recommend that we could do, considering our situation? And he made the recommendation that I said, I would write a letter and I would attend Wednesday's meetings for their monthly meeting. It's this Wednesday at 1:30. So I took it upon myself. I had some time. I zipped up a letter. I was going to send it to Danielle. Obviously, you shouldn't receive it. I'll go ahead and email it to you guys here in just a few moments. And personally, I'd like to ask our president, with a smile on my face, to perhaps go to that meeting on Wednesday at 1:30 and present that letter if council would agree with what is stated on that letter. And it simply is kind of giving a time frame, a timeline, I should say, of what took place, in that we feel that every community should be impacted by the financial, situation of the ARPA funds. So I will email that if that's not inappropriate. Then.
Yeah, that's fine. I can even try to print it off really quick.
Okay, I will try to send it to you then again.
Yeah.
All right, I will do that. That was one comment, and then I was curious if you had heard anything regarding Eric with the helmets, with that paperwork for the helmets. I didn't know if that was ever looked into any further since our discussion 2 weeks ago.
We do have some additional paperwork, and I would suggest that we wait. I can have Eric follow up with you guys on that. But Lisa did pull the information.
So we're all set there, okay. And then the third item that I could just discuss briefly is when Mr. Diver talked about the ordinance regarding the height of the grass of noxious weeds. Do we have a game plan, Danielle? And I know that we've talked about it. Do we have something in the calendar of when we're gonna revisit that particular ordinance?
I have the code violation one already drafted and redone and sent that to legal, who then kicked it back with quite a lengthy response. The grass one, that's a completely different one. I can draft something up there. My plan this winter was to start, literally just at the top of the ordinances and go a section at a time.
Okay.
If you guys have a different plan, if you want me to hit something specific first, let me know. Cause there's just a lot.
Right.
But that was kind of, I feel like in the last 2 weeks, I'm breathing air again.
Oh, I
So
understand totally.
that was kind of my plan of attack, but
Okay.
however you guys would rather see that, I'm good with, just let me know.
Maybe we could see a breakdown of the ordinances, meaning this type of ordinance, this type of ordinance, this type of ordinance, and prioritize. I don't know, or maybe we just go down, like you said, from the top to the bottom.
I think they pretty much all need to be,
Just go right top to bottom.
there's a lot of stuff in
Okay.
there. You start-
There's also a lot of cross-referencing.
Yes,
Okay.
That is another reason that I
Just start there.
initially thought if we start from there, then we're making those corrections every time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because the cross-referencing makes sense in some cases, but that way we don't have conflict.
So we've got a game plan for that.
Too, but again, I can jump whatever
Nope.
ordinance
I'm
up
here.
if I need
I'm
to.
hearing the top down works well, and I lied, I did have one more question regarding the personnel policy. I know 2 weeks ago, we went ahead with the attorney regarding the personnel policy, and I didn't know what the status of that was, please.
Sorry. I have not sent it to those attorneys yet. I have talked to them and I asked them to wait on any review so that I could get any changes that we had from the employees and council. I sent the and this is no fault of employees, it's mine. We've not been meeting the last few weeks, every week like we were because of just scheduling. So I sent it to them and requested that, and we were almost finished with the second review anyway, just asked them to send me any additional comments that they had. And then I was hoping if council had any questions or concerns, I actually sat down with Mike already and we went through, he had some really good feedback. So I'm gonna try to get all of those things incorporated and then send it to them so that I'm not having them review it multiple times. So I would encourage if any of you wanna sit down or have questions for me to let me know. And that way too, if there's a question that comes up, I can ask them. If there's something maybe I'm unsure of, or if you guys need clarification. But it is still my intention to move forward with that. My goal would be to have this done and ready for you guys by the end of this calendar year.
I just was checking on the status then. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Moving on to new business, number one, payroll. Move to approve the payroll register for September 2022 in the amount of $180,742.55.
We'll move to approve the payroll register for September 2022 in the amount of $180,742.55. Support.
We have a motion and a support on that item. Can you call the roll as presented?
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes. Approved. Moving on to accounts payable.
I move to approve the resolution recommending the wrong one. I move to approve accounts payable for the period of September 14th, 2022 to October 11th, 2022 in the amount of $802,499.49.
I'll support.
Motion and a support on that item. Can you call the roll as presented?
Any questions?
Oh yeah, sorry. Those are bills. Are there any questions on those?
LEDC, $5,000. Is that the time that we're here? Is that the new name? LEDC is separate. We're not.
That is one way now.
We should.
Yeah. Lenawee Economic Development.
Well, that's our legal name, and then Lenawee now is a DBA.
Okay.
So our corporation name is Lenawee.
It's still LEDC. Okay, I wasn't sure. Generally, we just do it as like a separate action item. It's just the way and it's not a big deal, but no, it's okay. It's just, I wasn't sure if this is like the yearly visit, and this is the actual time that we rediscuss it or whatever it is.
Okay.
It's a learning curve, and I wasn't trying to blindside you or anything, but generally it's just, I'm glad they were here to discuss it as we're discussing the reinvestment.
I can do that in the future. I apologize.
No, that's okay. Again, it's a learning.
Any other questions? You can call the roll.
Mike,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, and bills are paid. Moving on to action item 3, resolution approved train liquor license.
This mean the train's gonna start running again, the dinner train, or?
Is there somebody in the public here for the train?
She and I both are, we're both with the legacy.
Okay, so I don't have much information. I would defer to these wonderful people that are attending the meeting. I'm hoping that's what it means.
It's in the works. Essentially, we're waiting on approval for the liquor license and then actually applying for it. So we're still a couple months out. Goal is possibly in January to have it back up and operational, but we are currently going through the steps to get all that taken care of, catering licenses and everything else through the Lake City.
It's gonna be a little different, little more variety in the themes of trains. And I think it's gonna be about a 2-hour train versus what might have been like a 3 or 4 hour train. But we're gonna be handling everything and try to make it as fun, as exciting and versatile as we can, so we can get more people on the train to enjoy, less of like the standard, murder mystery like it was. Kids trains, family trains, date night trains, some music, some entertainment, we were talking like table to table magician for one, maybe, all different types of things. So we're trying to make it a little more fun and exciting, not that it wasn't before, but it's a new owner, so doing things a little differently.
You guys introduce yourselves.
Monica Fowler.
I'm Elijah Bowles.
Thanks.
You're representing the legacy as in like the golf course legacy, you would be the caterers of the train.
Yep.
Yes, I'm the
Contracted
main
caters.
manager over there, so I'm gonna be kind of in charge of, this is like an offshoot of our catering. We're getting an offsite license attached to our original catering license. So it's gonna, and then
I'm
sous
the
chef.
sous chef. We're gonna be prepping everything there, doing it the exact same way as the Hathaway House and Stables previously did. Taking everything down to the train, plating it on board and everything else, so.
We do appreciate that because I don't think people understand how much business, how much tourism that brings in. And I think council's kind of been chopping at the bit to see if that would start back up. I get freight makes the money, but again, the offshoots and the tourism sort of thing that we build off of that is very important. So we would, I guess, beg the owners, the new owners to revisit, definitely starting that dinner train back up.
It was one of my first jobs out of high school. I worked for the Stables, and one night they threw me on the train. The amount of tour buses we had and everything else, and all the old folks that would come from Toledo, Detroit, Flint, all over the place. They'd come down, they'd visit all the antique stores in downtown, they'd visit the ice cream parlors and everything else. So I think it'll be a great opportunity for the community as a whole, not just Legacy. We wanted to be here tonight most because technically we are Monroe County, Lenawee County over there, but we still wanted to make a presence.
Well, the owner of the freight line that acquired the train seems really excited to just get it operating. He's been very flexible as we're negotiating what our price is versus what we're gonna be charging people. And I think because freight is such a great business, he's just really wanting the community to have it. We met him once in person and he's just really open-minded about whatever we think is gonna work for this community and whatever we think we can get kind of butts and seats, to be honest, so get people out and having fun in Blissfield again, so, yeah.
Those are pretty technical terms there, butts and seats, we like that.
That's what we call it at work, if you've got retail and people wanna be there and they wanna enjoy entertainment and have a good time, make it happen, so.
Good for you guys.
I'm all for what you're doing. I don't vote for alcohol, but I'm for what you're doing outside of that, so.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of kid stuff too, trying to get families out there also, so, yeah.
One of the things is we can't really move forward with starting the trains until we get the liquor license whatsoever. So even if you're not for alcohol, I still would love to have this opportunity for us to, thank all of you for taking into consideration. Originally, the train owners themselves held the liquor license. It wasn't actually held by the Hathaway House. When Chris, the current owner, took over, he said there was too many hands in the pockets and they let it dissolve, go back into the community. One thing I do want to stress with this liquor license is since it's an extension of our existing one, it doesn't take any from the township. So there's no other liquor license that'll be used up. It's literally an extension of the one we already have out at Legacy, and it's actually a special one strictly for trains. I think there's only like one other one in the state.
Yeah, it's a train permit, so it's not, I brought that up, it's not obtaining an additional one that may take away from like expansion of your downtown area or someone who else wants to come into Blissfield. No one else other than a train operating like entertainment entity can obtain this license. So it allows an additional opportunity and still leaves you guys with whatever licenses may be out there to obtain, so.
Thanks for explaining that, that's a really good point. Thank you.
I guess just that the chief was able to go through it. And any concerns, any comments?
I haven't looked at anything.
We have not received a full application, just the resolution is the only thing. So the full application for a train license doesn't even technically need, I think, municipal approval. I was looking into it a little bit because the liquor licenses are still new to me. I'm learning a lot about them. But I think getting the village on board is probably a good idea, making sure moving forward, things are good. So that's why he didn't, I mean, I haven't even seen the application.
First step in several steps going forward.
Yeah, like I said, it's still a couple months out. If anybody's dealt with liquor control before, they're not very open about everything. It's, you gotta read between the lines, you gotta figure everything out. So, yeah, a lot of phone calls. So.
Do you know who the other community is that has the train license?
Not offhand.
Okay,
Maybe because
Was
they
it
have
Charlotte?
yeah.
Charlotte, okay,
It could possibly be. I don't know that offhand.
yeah, I'm just curious.
It is exciting though, because I know the Legacy did cater it back in the day for a year or two, and they pulled it off well. So again, I know there's challenges with, the food.
Biggest challenge is transport.
Yeah,
That's
but
the biggest challenge. But we've got a decent idea of what we're gonna be doing for that.
Well, I would be glad to make the motion to approve the resolution recommending the train liquor license application for Legacy Operating Group located at 301 East Adrian Street.
Support. Moved and supported to approve the resolution recommending the train liquor license application for the Legacy Operating Group located at 301 East Adrian Street. Are there any other comments or questions? If not, you can call the roll, Lisa.
Jerry,
yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
No.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes, and motion carried.
Congratulations, you guys.
Thank you.
Action item 4, approved school resource officer agreement.
Chief, are you good with what we have written here in this policy?
I believe so. There were some last minute issues that had minor issues need to be adjusted, but I believe Danielle said she got them solved,
So there's still no one in the lineup for the job.
Oh yeah, I'm actually got scheduled to go to training next week in Indiana. I'll be ready to go in 2 weeks.
No name brought forward to us.
Oh, what was this? Were you bringing that forward? Then what is it?
I have not
Oh.
done anything yet. I was waiting for the agreement and everything before we did anything.
Oh, okay, I got scheduled up today.
But that's okay.
Okay,
So you have a candidate?
we have a candidate. I guess we're bringing forward to here in a minute.
Okay, I was glad to see one here.
I got a little ahead of myself today.
So
The office is quiet,
I
there's nobody
didn't-
here, and I got a lot of stuff to figure out today.
I didn't put it on the agenda for council because I wanted to get this agreement in place first. So, and we can say, right, so the candidate is Dave Luce, who's currently employed with the village. He's our part-time officer, and he is interested in going to the school as a school resource officer. So that's what we've been talking about, moving him into that position, and then that would open up the part-time with the village, because that is how we budgeted in this current fiscal year. So my plan was, if we got this agreement through, because I wanted to make sure that if we move forward with this, that we had the agreement between the school and us in place, so that there were clear expectations of who would be doing what, moving forward.
So he's gonna take on the full-time role in this, if it passes.
Yes, yep, he would go to full-time through the school year. Definitely, and then we're still talking about if he would come work for the village in the summer, or if he would take some time off.
And then we were contingent upon the school getting
that grant, correct? Because
Yes.
that's actually what makes it
So-
happen. So did they?
I do believe that the school at this time, I hope I don't misspeak. My understanding from the school is that they're willing to pay this cost until they get that grant. Now this contract, it would be from a year to year, so we're gonna, if they aren't able to secure the grant or, and you can terminate outside of that too with some conditions, but then we would look at that and revisit. And we will be, if this all goes through and we have a school resource officer, we'll be meeting at the end of the year anyway to say, okay, what worked, what didn't, what changes, if any, do we need? And kind of revisiting the whole program because it is new and really, we are kind of treating this first year as a pilot program for the school resource officer.
When will we actually put the SRO over there?
I think on the village side, we could do that after Dave attends training. We would confirm that with the school. We don't have a set date with the school. Again, I've been trying to go through the steps at this point, so that's not been finalized. Correct, we've not,
The contract,
like when he would start or anything.
there had been no
Okay.
discussion about that.
Like, correct me if I'm.
Yeah, it was pending their approval of the contract, obviously. But the training we did, there was an opportunity that came up next week. I did schedule Dave up for the training, just go ahead and get that out of the way. But the paperwork is in Danielle's basket, and obviously that's subject to approval, so.
Make a motion to approve the school resource officer agreement between the village of Blissfield and the Blissfield Community School District as presented.
Support that. Moved and supported to approve the school resource officer agreement between the village of Blissfield and the Blissfield Community School District as presented. Are there any other questions? You can call the roll, Lisa.
Barb? Yes.
Quinn,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried. Like you see, folks, you don't have to stay if you don't want to. You can take off.
I got no other plans.
It's a great place to spend the night.
Action item 5, proclamation, family court awareness month.
I had a request to present this proclamation to the council for Family Court Awareness Month. I included the exact request right in the council packet for you guys and then attached the proclamation. So I would just ask that council look at approving this. If you do so, then I will get a copy of the proclamation to them so that they have that for their records. There's a bunch of information in there for you. I don't know if you want to read it, Bob, or if you want somebody else to, or,
You want to?
sure.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, whereas the mission of the Family Court Awareness Month Committee, FCAMC, is to increase awareness of the importance of family court system that prioritizes child safety and acts in the best interest of children. And whereas the mission of the FCAMC is fueled by the desire to create awareness and change in the family court system for the conservatively estimated 58,000 children in a year ordered into unsupervised contact with abusive parents, while honoring the hundreds of children who have been reported as murdered during visitation with a dangerous parent. And whereas the mission is to increase awareness on the importance of empirically based education and training on domestic violence and child abuse, including emotional, psychological, physical, and sexual abuse, as well as childhood trauma and post-separation abuse for judges and all professionals working on cases within the family court system. And whereas the mission of the mission is to increase awareness on the importance of using scientifically valid, evidence-based treatment programs and services that are proven in terms of safety, effectiveness, and therapeutic value. And whereas the mission is to educate judges and other family court professionals on evidence-based peer-reviewed research. Such research is critical component to making decisions that are truly in the best interest of children. The research includes the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, Child Custody Evaluators' Belief about Domestic Abuse Allegations, and child custody outcomes in cases involving parental alienation and abuse allegations. Now therefore, we proclaim October to be Family Court Awareness Month, or November, I apologize.
Thanks for reading that.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
I'll make a motion to proclaim the month of November to be Family Court Awareness Month and encourage all residents to support their local community's efforts to prevent the harm of children in the hands of family members and to honor and value the lives of children.
Support. We have a motion and support on that issue. Can you call the roll as presented?
James,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes. The motion carried. Action item 6, approve FY 21-22 annual budget audit. Annual audit.
Council, I am asking that you approve to use Raymond to do our annual audit of fiscal year 21-22. This would be their 4th year of auditing for us. Recommended is 3 to 5. I would like to use them one more year because of the chart of account conversion. And they did help us out with a few of those things. And instead of trying to explain and make sure the next auditor is on board, it makes sense to use them again. The amount's $28,500. If you have questions, let me know.
The amount seems a little higher than in the past, by about, I want to say 8 to 10,000, but I could be wrong with meaning that I think initially it was a lower amount, and then as transitions have taken place, it has increased in price, but I thought it just seemed a little high.
So it is about $1,000 more than what they initially quoted us at last year. And I don't know if you recall, we did go over budget last year, a decent amount. I'd have to look at the
So
exact
if we went over
amount
budget
again.
last year.
And yeah, and we approved additional expenses. The year before that, we were $3,000 more. We do have a single audit now that is required of us because of our USDA loan. So part of the conditions of that loan, because whenever we spend more than $1 million or $750,000 in a year, we have to have that single audit. And I can look at the paperwork, but I want to say that single audit is $5,000.
So that's
in
an audit
itself.
specifically for that area.
Yes.
Understand, okay.
Yeah, so we will have that single audit requirement
For
last year and then the current year we're in because we will have spent over that $750,000 threshold.
Okay.
And then that should, assuming we don't have any other federal loans or grants, would fall off.
Okay. I thought it was a little higher than that. Thank you, Danielle.
Yes.
I move to approve the letter of engagement for Raymond for the purpose of fiscal year 2021-22 year-end auditing services. The total amount of $28,500 and authorize the village administrator to execute related documents on behalf of the governing body.
Support.
We have a motion and a support on that item. You call the roll as presented.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried. Action item 7, approve library agreements.
So there are two agreements, and if you guys want to do separate motions on these or whatever is easier for you, let me know. We're open for that. But there is a facility lease agreement and there's a employee lease agreement. I did work with Claire. She sent me over some drafts of these agreements, and then what I did is I went through and changed everything to fit the village and the Schultz Homes Memorial Library with correct addresses, and then tried to tweak a few minor things just to make it, my intent was to try to mimic exactly what we're doing now and not to make changes. I have shared these agreements with the library just in an email. I've not talked to them. I wanted you guys to have the opportunity to look at it before I went to them asking for their approval to make sure it's what you as council want. So moving forward, what will need to happen is these will go to the library board for approval. Or if you guys have changes or if you want them to look at it first, I was struggling with the best way to present this because I didn't want to speak on behalf of you guys because these agreements are up to you. But I wanted to give at least a starting point so that we weren't starting with a blank piece of paper. I do know some of the library board is here, so I would definitely love any input or concerns, questions they may have, and then anything you guys may have. But again, this is really your agreement, so whatever you guys feel needs to be changed, we can do that.
Essentially, you had to start somewhere, and
Yes,
so this is where you
Yeah.
chose to start, and we're gonna go first, for lack of better words.
yes,
Gotcha.
yeah.
I read through it, it's pretty cut and dry. My only question is personnel policies 3.2, talking about how they're subject to the library's policies. In addition to, they're technically village employee, correct? So they follow the village personnel policies or no?
No, so this, it gets very confusing. So they are village employees for the purpose of the library giving benefits to their employees. Because if they did it on their own, it would be costly, more so than even what we pay. But they are library employees. So the library board, we're leasing them back. They have full authority to hire, to terminate, to set their own policies. So they do not follow the Village of Blissfield policies. They would have their own. And that authority through the state law is completely on the library board. So that's for the intent of being able to ensure them, they're village employees, but the agreement gives them back to the library so that the library maintains their authority per the law.
Is there a need to list individuals like Bob Behringer and Bob Valdez, or should their titles be listed in these contractual obligations or agreements?
We can certainly do that. I think that's up to you guys if you think that that would be good.
And it shouldn't be Bob, because Bob is our employee, so it should actually be the library board president.
Right. Right. That would be my only, I think it's fairly straightforward. But that'd be my only input.
I guess my only question, going back to personnel policies, I guess it would be the benefits. The library's personnel policies would list the village's benefits as correlating because they're technically the same benefits, correct?
I would assume so, yes. They, if they were going to have some different benefit, then the library would be paying for that outside of what the village does. And again, that's where they're probably gonna
Save
pay
money.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, what, do you guys have a personnel policy now? How do you do that?
We do have a personnel policy, but we don't have one for benefits.
Okay, and would you just add something and refer the benefits to our policy, or?
We will work on that. I know I talked about that to add a policy for that.
I don't believe that's how this works.
Yeah, so
I don't believe that what we offer as our policy is true to the village employee. What we're doing is renting the employee back to the library. So their personnel policy, as far as benefits, doesn't need to match ours. If they want to go above and beyond, I think they're free to do that. But what we offer is what we offer.
Correct, yes. I agree. And that's what I was trying to say. If they do something different, that's on their own.
Right.
But I do think it would be good to reference the village is covering these benefits. Anything outside of that's on them.
This is a lease agreement.
Does that include all hiring and?
Yeah, the library, yes, the library board oversees all hiring, if there were any disciplinary action, any termination, resignations, anything like that. The library board is the authority over all of the employees with this lease agreement. Like right now, they are technically village employees, and without this lease agreement should be adhering to our village personnel policy.
This is like a temporary hire into a permanent position, if you want to think about it like that. It's like if you go to a temp service and hire someone. You pay the temp service. The employee works for the temp service. This is just a more of a permanent solution, I guess, for lack of better words.
I just don't want to be in the situation down the line, say something happened and we're in litigation regarding our benefits or what we provide as a village, and if they conflict with the library. We provide what we provide, and it should be listed in the such. If they want to provide something additional, fine, but it falls back on the village in following our benefit package.
And maybe what we could do is put in the agreement that the village benefits provided to these employees will match all other employees or will match our personnel policy, and anything outside of or above and beyond that is at the responsibility of the
Yes.
library.
For that clarity is what you're saying, like, correct? Yeah, you want it very clearly stated, so there's no questions.
Well, they're an employee of the village.
He's talking about the,
Don't confuse that. They work for the village. We then lease that employee to the library. So that they, as you said, Mike, the personnel policy indicates what these benefits are.
Right, but they have the library has authority over all personnel when we lease them back.
Correct. Just like when any lease situation.
I think you're talking the same thing.
We are talking the same
I think
thing.
we are too. I just want to make sure that is clear, because we can't take that authority from them under state law, so I want to be clear on that.
But I do agree that Todd's name should be, not his name specifically there, so.
Right, and then not Bob Barringer either, it's the board.
So it would be the library board president.
Right.
You guys, I could make those changes and bring it back to you so that you can see that and make sure you're good with it if you want. Or if you feel comfortable, change, it's up to you, just throwing out an option. And then were there any questions on the facility agreement?
No, I would just say, Greg, is that the facility agreement, is that something you would consider appropriate? Is that what you were looking for?
The only thing
It's more
that,
of a partnership.
the only thing I'm concerned with is, as we spoke when we had the meeting of the whole, is the cost of the roof that's gonna have to be put on. I mean, that's a large part that, budget wise, we're not where we need it to be. So it's a huge part that we're gonna have to take out of the savings.
Okay.
So at least some part from the village to take care of the roof on that.
So the facility lease agreement doesn't prohibit the library or the ability to ask for any appropriations from the village council. So at any point, if this agreement goes through, you guys as the library board can still come to council and request whatever amount or percentage of appropriations to go towards that, just like you did this year with the budget here where you requested your appropriations for your operating. So it would be the same way moving forward with, and not just the roof, anything that comes up. And then it'll be up to council to say yes, no, or this much or whatever at that point.
Are you suggesting, Danielle, that you would want to make these changes now so that we could vote on it? Or you're saying just to kind of vote on it based that you're going to make these changes?
I put it out there as an option. It's completely up to you guys. I'm good either way. Whatever is better for you guys.
So just going back to Greg's point, items 6 and 7, I guess, sort of contradict past practices. Right. So the library board can no longer make permanent improvements. And that falls back on the village.
Without written consent, so we're not they can make the whatever improvements, they just need, because it is at the end of the day our building. So not saying this will happen, but if the library went away or was no longer using that facility, is the village good with taking on whatever improvement that is?
Well, and from Greg's statement, their future plans now are held up by us. So that.
I mean, if the roof started leaking today, we'd have to come back to you and say, hey, we need to fix it.
Right.
And we need money, and by that time, I'm not, I mean, I was a member, so it could destroy a lot of things within the library.
That's correct.
So that's my, I mean, that's.
So I think we need to be flexible.
Right, I
hear.
Yeah, because I guess that's improvements. The roof's not, it's a repair. You have to have a roof on the building. So maybe we need to clarify the improvements, that's for new things. Like they can't go build a silo on top of the building without our approval. I know that's super random.
All right.
Another addition off the back end.
We did come to you when we did the bathroom addition. So I mean, that, you know, because we know it's your building. You know, so we did come to you when we had to, you know, improve the.
So that's when they would come for approval. If they're repairing the roof or they're painting a wall.
Yeah.
That's already
No, I
there.
understand. All right, so if we can just maybe
But we can
remove any ambiguity here to make sure we know where we stand. And then, other than that, I'm fine with this.
So Danielle, what do you have written down that would be the changes or the improvements on this?
Okay, so to the facility lease agreement, I would clarify that improvements would be new items, not repairs. And I'll find a nicer way to say that in the agreement. And then the employee one,
There's some IRS regulations that will help you with that.
and then the employee agreement, we will reference village benefits. And I believe that was it.
In the names.
Oh, in the names, yes, thank you.
Well, it says in the maintenance alterations during the term of the lease, the library shall be responsible for all maintenance and upkeep. That would include the roof and the parking lot, which we're gonna be talking about in a year or two. So again, that's not very clear who's gonna pay for the improvements or the repairs. Correct, because we're gonna have to budget, either it comes from the general fund back to you or how we're gonna word it for your request to say, we need a roof or we need a parking lot. How are we gonna word it in there? And then my only other question is the insurance too. The village covering the building and the contents, the library board will cover everything inside the building. Again,
There is a line item right now for insurance. What does that cover for the lab?
It's the building and the contents.
Okay.
so I just,
And it was,
it's like such a double-edged, and obviously this is not reinventing the horse, or reinventing the wheel, but I just want it to be clear to us that it's, again, we're not gonna be fighting down the line over whatever does happen to that property.
Be proactive versus reactive. We've been reactive plenty of times.
And I can address insurance too. So right now, the way, and just, I guess FYI, the village does insure them through our plan, again, cost savings. And we have umbrella coverage. So the village is insured for $28 million. If something happens to the library, and let's say its building is and contents are 1.5, and maybe it costs 3 million, then that umbrella coverage is going to cover them. So it makes sense to keep them in our policy, but they do currently pay that insurance cost out of their fund, which is what the insurance line is for.
No, I read it, exactly.
Okay.
A little more convoluted.
Are you saying that you're gonna include that clarification?
Yes,
or
I will.
okay, regarding the insurance?
Yes, so facility, I have insurance, the cost of the repairs, and then clarifying improvements versus repairs. And then employees, it's the positions, not names, and reference village benefits. And I would ask that you let me make those changes as a checks and balance to make sure I don't miss anything. I would just feel better before you approve anything. So I think we postpone this to the next meeting.
All right, that sounds good. Action item number 8, approved wastewater treatment plant exterior door purchase.
Should we? I mean, how long has the board had that? Have you guys read through all that? And I mean, is that something that
We
we're
haven't
gonna?
met yet, we're meeting.
All right, so then.
So we'll have a
Okay.
discussion.
I just don't want to stall the process.
No, no.
If there's feedback you have now, then let's get it out.
No, so, yeah, we'll have a conversation.
And if you have additional feedback, let me know. That way I can bring that up to council at the next meeting too, and if something does come up.
All right.
Water treatment plant exterior door purchase. Thank you.
I'll move council approve replacement to exterior doors at the Blissfield water treatment plant for an amount of $6,800, I think that's $6,686 even. Work to be completed by a quality overhead door.
Support. Moved and supported to approve the replacement of 2 exterior doors at Blissfield water treatment plant for the amount of $6,686. Work to be completed by quality overhead door.
Was this the only,
Comments or questions, sir?
yeah, was this the only price we received?
Yes. I'm thrilled at this price. The wastewater treatment plant doors were not this successful.
No.
It has been extremely difficult to get responses on doors, and I think just supply chain issues like everything else. So I know it's only one, and I do apologize for that, but right now we're just trying to do what we can. And it did come in under budget, so happy about that too.
Double bonus.
You call the roll.
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carries. Action item 9, trust fund expenditure report.
Yes, I'm excited about this.
Yes, that's
So
a big deal.
I reported to council in one of my weekly summaries, I attended the court hearing with Dave Lacoste on the trust funds being dissolved. The judge did approve our request pending. She would like us to submit what the expenditures are going towards. I didn't want to submit this though, just without making sure we're all on the same page. Everything in this plan, and I can go through each of them if you want, is within the budget this year, except for the dugout replacements, which we held off on pending finding out what was happening with the trust funds. but was identified during our budget process as one of the projects we wanted to move forward. So I have the amounts. If you guys approve this, Dave will get this over to Judge Sala, and then she'll sign off on the motion or summary, whatever it's legally called, I'm not sure, so that we can expend these funds. But if you have questions, or like I said, if you want to talk about specifics, let me know.
The dugouts remain dugouts, is that correct?
Yes, they are just being replaced, and I've been in conversation with the Little League about moving them from being partially in ground to fully above ground for future maintenance and repairs. It's a little bit more cost effective, but that's still to be determined. I'm still working with them. But yes, they will be dugouts still. Might look a little different.
I guess I have two questions. One on the police truck. We had, I guess we were still able to purchase that new pickup without expending this. That correct? So this is kind of offsetting the budget for the year. Is that?
So
safe to
we,
say?
yes, we do have it fully funded without this. However, we have depleted, or not depleted, but we have definitely run down that motor vehicle fund, and we know we have needs for DPW vehicles and really police vehicles still. So that's why I was hoping to use it towards that, to help that motor vehicle fund. And then I'm also would like to apply, we received the USDA Capital Facilities Grant for DPW. I would like to apply for that again. So I think with the combination, then we can turn around and get another vehicle and try to start catching up a little bit, or at least not falling further behind.
I just think it's fair enough that to say that, okay, the police department gets to expend that, but it's not on a general continuous process, you know, something maybe above and beyond, at least some of that would be nice to say, okay, you're able to expend those funds. What's out of the ordinary, what's something out of the realm that, you know, not the every 3 to 5 year replacement vehicle, because in 3 to 5 years, then we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure, because then we don't have that money to continue moving forward in the rotation, if that makes sense. It would preferably be something above and beyond that cyclical expense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the Claire Bachmeyer Trust Fund, just to point out that they probably have to go towards the bridge, since the county pretty much hopes us on ARPA.
Not yet, that lady hasn't sang.
I don't know.
Come on now.
We'll see, but no.
She might be humming, but she hasn't sang.
It's nice that we're finally moving forward with those, because I don't think people understood it probably costs us more money to just have them sit there and be audited and whatnot than utilize that money for the $200 in interest we would get per year.
So are you wanting to change the police expenditure?
I guess I would say let's keep that in the police department's budget rather than roll it right back into the motor vehicle. I would prefer to see it just not be an amendment right away.
The judge wants to see the funds expended, so we can't just roll it. It's for specifically
Right.
police equipment.
But
So
don't do an amendment to move whatever that certain amount that we budgeted for just to get back into the, you know, out of the police's fund right away. Let's sit on it for a little bit. So that,
I hear where you're coming from, Mike, but I don't think we have really the option to sit on it. We have to state what we're gonna,
Right.
I understand what you're
if
saying.
we could purchase the truck with the fund,
Right,
absolutely.
but
But don't take that out of Chief's budget right away just to roll into something else. If it, again, he's being proved fiscally responsible about it, we're being fiscally responsible about it. Let's not take that out of his budget right away and say, okay, let's shuttle it somewhere else. Does that, am I
so
being clear on that?
I do understand what you're saying, but if it goes into, like, his vehicles right now come out of motor vehicle, it's not his fund, so we won't be able to change those around. Like, if we use this to go towards the police vehicle, then that's what it won't go into his budget. If you're wanting something specific to the police department in his budget, then I think we need to identify a project, which I'm sure Chief can give you a couple ideas. I know one of the things and I don't want to speak for him, but one of the things we've talked about is the in-car camera replacements. I mean, is there other equipment needs that you have outside of a vehicle that you could expend the 25,000 on? But we do need to, whatever we do, we need to make sure we're expending those funds, because that's what the judge is saying, okay, you've requested this, now let's not continue sitting on it, collecting $100 in interest. What are you going to spend them on for the purpose of the trust? And that one's very specific, it has to be police equipment.
And maybe it's not that dialogue for now. I mean, we can talk about it further down the line. Again, we budgeted this much out of what the motor vehicle fund to pay for that truck. And that's where you're gonna spend it. And then we have, quote, this additional funding in that fund. So if there's something regarding a police vehicle, maybe it's the SRO, I don't know. I just, again, I don't want to see it moved right away to be pulled out, quote, the police department's portion of that motor vehicle fund or of that funding. Again, it's either, I don't want to sit here and dwell on it, but
Is there a sub account for police vehicles?
No, it's the way that we have the motor vehicle fund set up is, it's, the revenues are from the equipment rental, and then the police pay a lease into that fund, and then what the expenditures are meant to pay for is the purchase of new equipment. This is one of the funds I've spent a lot of time focusing on, and Brandon and I have talked about it a lot. I've talked to other communities. The intent of the motor vehicle fund is to purchase new equipment. And when you look at that fund in other communities, what they do is they revenue that rental fee, which is set by the state, and then they expense only new equipment. Well, what we've done over time, and I'm sure because of budget constraints in other departments, is we've added other expenditures. Wages is one of them. No other community expenses wages out of their motor vehicle fund. We expense a few different things related to Village Hall grounds because the employees here do that. I've this year pulled out my wages and the zoning administrator wages, but I didn't still this year, clerk, treasurer, and DPW are in there. I didn't want to negatively impact our other departments all at once, so my plan was to start slowly pulling those back to make that fund set up the way it should be. But what essentially has happened is our operating costs are eating up all of the revenues in this fund, and then we can't purchase the new equipment like we need to. So other communities, the only expenses are those new equipment and then gas or fuel, and that's it. And I mean, if you look at that fund, you can see multiple other things coming out of it. But again, I can't just automatically in one year pull those, because then it affects general fund in some of these other areas.
But we're also looking at a potential SRO vehicle too, correct? So maybe that helps us get on the right foot regarding that.
Well, so that was why I would like it to go towards the vehicle, and Chief and I talked about this. I understand he has other needs, but we put ourselves in kind of a bad spot. Like right now, if this doesn't go towards this vehicle, we cannot purchase another vehicle next year. And then we're just getting further behind. And that's what I was trying to eliminate, is it with the hopes of being able to utilize this trust fund, hopefully secure another grant through USDA, we could help get ourselves a little in. And pulling these expenses that shouldn't be in there in the next couple of years, it would get us back on track where we should be. Because we do have, I mean, DPW is in worse shape than the police department, and the police department's not in great shape with vehicles. So we definitely are in a spot right now with that. With that being said, that's my recommendation. If you guys want to see this money go towards something police equipment related, I'm good with that, as long as we decide what it's going to be so that we can let the judge know and move forward with this.
When is Judge Sala expecting this?
So she did not give us a like hard and fast date, but court was a couple weeks ago, so I do think we need to get something to her sooner rather than later.
Well, I mean, this is enough for her to sign off and say, okay, obviously it's something that you need to expend all these funds on, you have plans for it, so let's just move forward with it. But again, we can talk about, you know, if we have some now extra in the motor vehicle fund, then we can potentially look at an SRO vehicle or whatever else we need to do differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll move to approve the proposed expenditures for the trust fund monies and authorize the village attorney to submit the reports to Judge Sala on behalf of the governing body.
Support.
Moved and supported to approve the proposed expenditures for the trust fund monies and authorize village attorney to submit the reports to Judge Sala on behalf of the governing body. Any other comments or questions? You can call the roll, Lisa.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried. Action item 10.
Just want to say
Support letter.
that's been a big deal, you guys, for us to get that done. So congratulations for us. It's one of the feather in the cap moment for a long time. Thank you, Danielle, for fulfilling that. Thank you.
Support letter for Illinois Now.
I move to approve the letter as presented to authorize village president Bob Valdez to submit the letter on behalf of the governing body.
Support.
Motion moved and supported. Can you call the roll?
Real quick, let's say I'd like to know how much, what percentage of that is of your budget is that? That's quite a good chunk, right? I mean, we contribute
I'm in the budget in
$5,000.
$600,000 range, so they took 75,000.
Did you get any feedback from the county? Because again, much like we were sitting up here 2 weeks ago, a lot of this seems political. And again, magically, we withdrew support of the Phoenix project. You weren't sold on the Phoenix project without requesting more. And I mean, really, it seems like a slap on the face, whether it's the administrator or whether it's the, well, whether or not the board is even paying attention to what it seems like the administrator recommended. Still seems like quite a slap in the face to you as well. So
I was
I
as
get what's that.
flabbergasted as you were, because yeah, it was not a, the board didn't say yes, the board didn't say no, just said it's questions, and then the roof came.
And they gave you no feedback on why they withdrew that your funding.
Well, I think, I don't know if we had an email or not, I talked to Administrator Murphy. I mean, displeasure with the way we had done something, I'm sure there was something, but
Speaks for itself, I think.
not gonna put words in people's mouths, yes.
Thanks, Tim.
All right. Can you call the roll on that motion as presented, Lisa?
Gwen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yes, thanks.
So, thank you.
Action item 11, approved 223 street trees.
So I'm just, I guess, looking for some thoughts on what you or people you talk to would like to see. I don't think I should make the decisions on what we look like. Right now, we have trees within some grates in the sidewalk along 223. My understanding is these were put in when MDOT came through and did a project. I was gonna take pictures and I just did not get a chance to, I apologize, but we have a lot of them, the sidewalks completely raised up. I think down by the church, it's, I wanna say good 6 inches, if not more. And then down by 3 bridges on that corner, there's a tree that you can see where the semis have been hitting the branches and they're starting to break off. So before DPW goes in and then does something, I wanted to get feedback on what you guys think. So a couple options, and I may have not thought of something too, but we could remove the trees and the grates and put concrete in there. We could put some smaller trees or something different in there. I would need to work with somebody. I don't know exactly what species would be good. We need to make sure that the root system would be able to take, and then it could stand up to the salt from the winter, which is another big concern. And then a third option would be that we put trees in there, but then we commit that every 2 years we go pull those and transplant them and replant them in our parks or other right of ways, and then put new small trees in there so that the root systems do not grow to be so large that they start affecting our sidewalks or the trees grow so large that they're impacting the traffic. So I'm just looking to see what you guys think, what you'd like to see there, or if you've had feedback from the citizens.
I think riding a bicycle through there, they're right in the way. So.
If they trim them, they're not in the way, because I know I've been whacked in the head myself.
I will.
I love the trees.
I rattled on about everything else. I'll shut up after this. The one in front of Elm and Giles leave it. The two in front of Norton, we can't get them to grow. Fill them in with concrete, keep the grades.
Yeah.
The one in front of the model railroad, replace it with a columnar tree. It's close to a light pole. It shouldn't be within 10 feet, but a columnar tree will work. 3 bridges and Larry's, make them smaller. That's the problem is MDOT came through when we did the TE grant. We picked a variety of species, and for some reason, no matter what we order, whether it's flowers or trees or whatever in this town, we get the wrong thing. They're supposed to turn out to be massive honey locusts. They're supposed to be sunfire honey locusts, like you see in the parking lot. The 300 block or the 100 block in front of Matt's buildings, can't get them to grow. We replaced it 3 times. Holy grades fill them in. The 2 in front of the Methodist church, we have a concern with those.
Yeah, have you seen the sidewalk? It's raised up. It's the roots on those.
Okay. And then the one in front of O'Mara Park, is that one as well? The big
Yes,
honey
that's
locust.
lifted up as well.
Okay.
Support.
Okay, you gotta repeat that. I'm so sorry. I was trying to type while you were saying that.
Did he put the ears in there when you pull them out?
You know, it's killing the tree guy.
I know.
Yeah, no, I like the trees too.
Elm and Giles leave that one on the front of the house where the master tree just fell, took out the power lines, whatever.
Okay.
The 2 in front of Norton fill it in because we can't get them to grow. The one in front of the model railroad, replace that one. The 3 from Triple Bridges to Larry's need to be the smaller type honey locust or the columnar tree, ginkgo biloba or whatever. The 100 block in front of Matt's buildings, pull them and fill them because of the drainage, and they would need like the pot that we had discussed in the community park for drainage. The 2 in front of the Methodist church, butcher them since you want to, and the one in front of the O'Mara Park, hack it down. That's my motion. And I'll buy a new one for O'Mara Park.
Okay,
I will donate one.
I got it. I got about half of it.
Hack it down.
Like, what kind of tree is that there at, you know, that we get shut down?
I think that's what people, that's the monster.
Avoid it, please avoid monsters.
No more maples.
That was turned into a whole ordeal.
Yeah, that gets kind of crazy.
Anybody else have any suggestions?
I'm done.
So, did you
see
that? That's his motion, did I second? Oh, James did, sorry.
I love seeing them, but.
I know it.
Can you call the roll on that motion as presented?
I repeat, and I don't have to repeat it. When?
I don't know. Yes, yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb, yes, Jerry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for your research.
I hugged them all before I came.
You can play them with your yard, how's that sound?
Bring them over to my house too.
I'm gonna have to get a picture of you hugging the trees before we pull.
All right, we're on to action item 12.
Yeah, that's what we should do.
Plan on the riverbank behind our house.
Resolution approving FY 22-23 budget amendment number 1.
So I know we just approved the budget. I'm sorry. Back in, I think it was 2017 and 18. And I don't have a ton of information on this. You guys probably know better than I do. We did some fundraisers and different programs where people donated to the pool to go towards capital projects. They would get a brick with their name on it put at the pool, and we have yet to have those bricks placed. And with the conversion of accounts, we are changing the capital pool project is now the debt project, not capital. So the funding that was for capital improvements at the pool is the $6,424.77. I am requesting that we put this in the expenditures under the pool. And if you guys recall, we have that $194 some odd dollars already in there. Or I think it lifts it there. That would be tracked so that we can accurately see those donation funds. And then the only expenditure that I have planned for this is I actually did it already. I purchased the bricks so that we can get them installed and placed out there, which was about $350, I think $344 and some change. So I'm just asking that we amend the budget so that we can track this and it'll go towards capital projects, which is still to be discussed and finalized. If you have questions, let me know.
When you say you purchase the bricks, they're just plain bricks
With names.
with names? We
Yes.
found the list. The last I knew,
Yes.
we did not have the list of names.
Brandon found the list. I did not, so
Right
thank
on.
you, Brandon. But I do have the list of all of the names and they are ordered.
Cool.
I had a hard time finding somebody that would do them, but was able to. They do take 4 to 6 weeks to be finalized. And then they'll be sent in and we will I'll work with DPW to get them set in the spring, I would think, by the time they get here, depending on weather. If it's nice enough, we can do it this year and we'll do some photos and thank yous as well. But that will at least honor what we said we would do with the bricks and then be able to, like I said, track these funds to go towards capital projects out there.
Good job of wrapping that project up as well.
Yes, that one took me a little bit of time, but huge thank you to Brandon for pulling the list together for me and I apologize that it was not in time for budget. It was one of the many things we had on our to-do list.
Move to approve the resolution authorizing the budget amendment as presented, increasing general fund revenues and expenditures both by $6,424.77.
Support that.
Moved and supported to approve the resolution authorizing the budget amendment as presented, increasing general fund revenues and expenditures both by $6,424.77. Can you call the roll, Lisa?
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried. Reports. Anything for the administrator? Police department? Treasurer? Moving on to council discussion. I'll look at the letter. Gwen wants me to go read.
Yeah, I do. You're gonna read it too, though. Not Danielle.
I thank you for that. I don't know if Bob does, but I thank her for that.
I'll read it for the audience out there. It says, Dear Mrs. Murphy and County Commissioners, Blissfield Village Council is hoping the Lenawee County Administrator and County Commissioners will revisit the American Rescue Plan's disbursement for the following reasons. Our village administrator, Danielle Gross, submitted our application for the American Rescue Plan funds before the December 1, 2021 deadline. The county then identified the village of Blissfield to receive $160,000 in qualified allocations. We were under the impression we would be receiving those monies for our qualified application. The Lenawee County Board of Commissions were given a presentation at a meeting on July the 17th at 6 p.m. This presentation took place after review by the county's Legal and Compliance Council as to the applications received and allowance under the final rule. That presentation indicates Blissfield qualified for $690,000 in government services for the Gale Gauss Memorial Pool Site, park facility upgrades, and the pedestrian bridge projects. Number 4, at the special board meeting on September the 14th, a presentation was given stating the following, and it goes through the slide on the EC6, and essentially we qualified as indirect allocation, and the commission priorities list, we Blissfield were part of it. Then it states with infrastructure, potential qualifying project, again, list Blissfield Village. At the end of the presentation, the village of Blissfield received $0 for recommendation in direct allocations and recommended direct allocations based on commissioner priorities. At the September 26, 2022 Village of Blissfield meeting, Mr. Gates attended and attempted to answer the questions council had regarding the procedure and ending result. It was determined our best course of action was to write a letter to you. In our humble opinion, we believe each community in Lenawee County should have received some allocation from the ARPA funds. Sincerely, the Blissfield Village Council. We do not have, certainly don't have to keep it that way, but that was what I came up with this afternoon. Can you handle reading that, Brad?
I can handle that. I can handle that. Wednesday at 1:30.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for that letter.
My only other comment is this, you guys, in all seriousness, I don't want to let this die. We do have a new, we know that Mr. Martis is going to be our representation in November. I don't know how much the commissioners will be changing, but if this doesn't make a difference, perhaps, once the change of the commissioners, that'll be another attempt for us to try it, and perhaps with Mr. Martis in that situation, perhaps he can maybe voice his opinion a little bit differently. I don't know.
Morenci didn't get their money either until their county commissioner spoke up on their behalf.
So their county commissioner did, and they got money?
It's the way I understand it for their ambulance.
Really?
Their commissioner did speak up, however, it was voted down still.
Oh, it was?
Morenci did not get funding for it.
Okay.
Their commissioner made a motion to fund their ambulance and pull it from the 2.3 additional allocations to the Maurice Beer campus, but it did fail.
I know when I spoke again with Mr. Gates, he was, he basically admitted that he wasn't exactly sure what he had voted on and did not know what he had exactly voted on. He said there were a lot of things going on at that meeting, a lot of things were going on basically, and he wasn't sure. So hopefully we can clarify it for him. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Stacy Becker is still scheduled to start tomorrow.
Yes,
Okay. And Greg Myers withdrew.
Glenn did withdraw.
Glenn,
Yes.
sorry. And you don't have any more candidates for full-time officer?
No, nothing right now.
Moving on to public items. Public comment items not on the agenda. Go ahead, say your name.
Matt Tester. Okay, I want to thank Danielle, first of all, for coming down. She's the first one in 2 years since this water thing started that actually walked through the building to look to see what was there. I think you guys all got the recommendation. So I was wondering now, will you credit me that other account that I overpaid for the last 2 years?
How does that work? Is he all caught up, Danielle, paying what he was supposed to, or?
He did pay the amount that was assessed to taxes that was not removed, and his full tax bill. I cannot answer, I've not looked.
No, the rest of it, whatever is credited should go towards the other one that's out there right now.
Correct. You still have an outstanding amount, though, that was not
Yeah, because
assessed
there
on,
was two still on there,
on the 106, correct?
correct?
Yeah, so I don't think that one is current, but I believe all the other bills are current at this time. With the exception of the 106, South Main Street.
I'd be willing to entertain something if it's brought to us. Obviously, it sounds like there's a little bit of research and that needs to be done in a formal presentation, but absolutely.
Oh, I meet with Danielle, we can do that.
Some numbers to look at would be beneficial.
Okay, we'll do that.
I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. And we'll take a look at it. Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on to committee of the whole agenda, October 17th. Michigan Rural Water Rate Analysis for Water and Sewer. So we have that.
I had shared that previously, but I put it just as a reminder. For you
Yep.
guys.
Appreciate it. I would take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion, we adjourn the meeting. Second.
Go with Mike.
That'd be close.
Can you call the roll?
Tim,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, meeting's adjourned.